Hello guys, welcome back, and today I'm going to be talking about Anaheim Ducks coach Randy Carlyle and when he will be fired. Now with the Anaheim Ducks' disappointing record as of late and the recent 5-3 loss versus the Winnipeg Jets, when will Randy Carlyle be held accountable and when will Randy Carlyle be fired? Watch till the end because you do not want to miss this rant. Now, Randy Carlyle has been the coach of the Anaheim Ducks since the 2016-2017 season. He ended up making the playoffs 2 straight years, but this season has been absolutely atrocious on pretty much all fronts. And for Randy Carlyle, while I've been fine with him in the past with his time in Toronto and in Anaheim, this year has been a whole different story. And I am by no means an Anaheim Ducks fan, even though I like this jersey and I bought it, even though I like the Mighty Ducks gear. I am by no means a Mighty Ducks fan, but when it comes to this season and how Randy Carlyle has coached this team, it just makes me sad for actual Anaheim Ducks fans because I honestly feel sorry for them. Now, going into the year, I predicted Anaheim to miss the playoffs by just a few points, but I expected them to be out of the playoff race by April. But even then, I didn't have too much expectations for Anaheim, but I was still let down. Now, this season is by no means over, but so far it has not been good for them, and it's pretty much been misery after misery when it comes to game over game. Now, right now, the Anaheim Ducks are at a 21-22-9 record, and for the Anaheim Ducks, they've had a history of making the playoffs time after time again, being really successful over the past decade, but this season has been one of the ones to forget, and for Anaheim, we've seen a lot of the older players start to get a little bit more weary. We haven't seen as strong of a team on their front, but even then, I think this Anaheim Ducks team is better than what they've shown. Now, this season has just been terrible when it comes to injuries for the Anaheim Ducks. Last year was just terrible as well. It was even worse than this year, but this year also has been very bad for them. And a lot of that has to do with their core getting older and older as the years go by. But again, a lot of their even a lot of their younger guys have been injured at points throughout the season, so it seems like they're never 100% healthy, which also has something to do with how meh they've been. Now, a lot of this season has been saved up to this point because of John Gibson and how well he's been. Honestly, right now, while John Gibson has struggled a little bit recently, he is still my Vezina candidate. He is still my Vezina favorite because without John Gibson, Anaheim Ducks would be nowhere right now. John Gibson has been absolutely phenomenal, and even last year, he was great, but this year, he has stepped it up to another level to achieve to be one of the most elite goaltenders in the league right now. Now, John Gibson's season stats have been really interesting so far. He's currently sitting at a .916 save percentage, which is not elite per se, but when you factor in how many shots he's been facing over the course of the season, those numbers are even more impressive. Now, for the Anaheim Ducks, they're currently sitting at a -360 shot differential, which is somehow not last in the league. Ottawa has -367, but Anaheim and Ottawa are neck and neck when it comes to the shot differentials, and Anaheim's defense, it hasn't been too injured throughout this season. It's just been plain bad, and John Gibson seemingly every night has to bail out Anaheim time after time again, which when you look at their record, obviously he is not doing. Now, when it comes to goals saved above average, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite goalie stats in the entire league, John Gibson currently sits at first in the NHL with goals saved above average with a 22.23 goals saved above average. Now, the second highest goalie in that list is Thomas Greiss at a 16.01. So John Gibson is 6 points or 6 goals saved above average more than the second place guy. And he's been dominating that list and that category throughout the whole season, basically. And he's pretty much on cruise control right now, but even though John Gibson has been struggling as of late, he still has been an absolute god this season and is still probably the best goaltender in the world when it comes to the season stats. But of course, the Anaheim Ducks currently sitting at a 21-22-9 record. John Gibson has not been able to bail them out every single night like he used to at the start of the season. When the Anaheim Ducks went out to a solid record to start out, it was pretty much only because of John Gibson. Yes, he had a little bit of goal support, but it was pretty much John Gibson. But as the season goes on, you just can't rely on your goaltender that much, and John Gibson has still been an absolute god this season. But the Anaheim Ducks have been continuing to get injured. Some of the guys like Andre Costa have went out of the season, so it's been some bad luck mixed with bad play, and for me right now, if I had to blame anybody for that, it would be Randy Carlyle. Now, for me personally, I've always been on the Randy Carlyle fire train, at least with this season, but the final nail in the coffin for me was yesterday's game versus the Winnipeg Jets. The Anaheim Ducks and the Winnipeg Jets faced in the MTS Center, or whatever it's called, in Winnipeg, and this game was just a pure disaster for the Anaheim Ducks. John Gibson was anything but good in that game, but the Winnipeg Jets just steamrolled them, and that's understating it. Now, if you guys did not see it, and if you're Anaheim Ducks fans, I can definitely see why. The game versus the Winnipeg Jets and the Anaheim Ducks did not go well for the Anaheim Ducks. The Winnipeg Jets ended up winning 9-3 against the Anaheim Ducks, and no, I am not kidding. It was 9-3. It was so bad at some point that the Winnipeg Jets seemed to just give up because they were taking pity to the Anaheim Ducks. And while these shots weren't really skewed in either team's favor, it was pretty close. The game was certainly not close for any stretch of the imagination. Now, the Winnipeg Jets in that 9-3 victory were able to score 6 goals in the first period, and that was the first time that a team has scored 6 goals in the first period since the Montreal Canadiens did it versus the Colorado Avalanche back in December 10th, 2016. And the Montreal Canadiens did that against the historically bad Colorado Avalanche. But for the Anaheim Ducks, they are not as bad as that Colorado Avalanche team that ended up getting like 46 points or whatever it was. But the Anaheim Ducks really have no excuses here. They have no excuses to make for a 9-3 defeat. Something like that obviously has the roots of the team and has the problems stored in the team. And I feel like a lot of this 9-3 loss thing is on Randy Carlyle and what he's done to that team. And especially in that 9-3 game, the defense was absolutely atrocious. When you look at Anaheim's defense, it's not like they have a bad defensive core. You got Lindholm, you got Cam Fowler, you got Brandon Montois, you got some solid players in that defensive group, and it's not like they're slouches like Ottawa with that terrible shot differential. They're just playing bad, and we saw that versus the Winnipeg Jets. While the shots weren't eagerly on Winnipeg's side, it was still a terrible effort, and it seemed like Winnipeg was just getting handed the goals, and Anaheim wasn't doing too much to stop that. So for me, those guys should be stopping that, but I think it's a mindset, and a mindset with the coach. And especially in that 9-3 Winnipeg game, John Gibson, pretty much Anaheim's Lord and Savior, was still not able to bail them out whatsoever. And when John Gibson has a bad night, watch out, because the Anaheim Ducks are going to get beat badly, especially with how much they've been relying on John Gibson in the past weeks, in the past months, and in this whole year. We saw it completely exposed versus the Winnipeg Jets, and I kind of had the feeling that nothing will be done about it. And with the Anaheim Ducks situation, they've lost 3 straight. It's not looking good right now. And I don't want to blame it on the coach, but I'm going to blame it on the coach. Randy Carlyle is an absolute terrible fit now, and for the Anaheim Ducks, it's not like they have the best team in the world, but they should be playing better than this. They shouldn't have 9-3 losses with John Gibson, with that great defensive core. And the problems with this team just got exposed versus Winnipeg, and they got absolutely annihilated. It was pretty much Duck season for the Winnipeg Jets, and Randy Carlyle, I have a feeling, will still be the head coach for some reason. Now, a few weeks ago, we saw the GM of the Anaheim Ducks, Bob Murray, come out and make a statement about the whole team, and it was really telling from what he said. He said that the players should play better, he said the team should be playing better, and he stuck by and shielded Randy Carlyle, which I get. You want to stick by your guy, you want to stick by your coach, but we're a few weeks later, nothing has changed, absolutely zero has changed with the Anaheim Ducks. They're still in the bad position, and they're still getting beat to crap with Randy Carlyle as the coach. Now, after that statement from Bob Murray ended up making a few depth moves after that statement, getting guys like Michael Del Zotto in trade, a couple of other minor moves, but the fact that Bob Murray really just shields the whole problem with this Anaheim team, while Anaheim does have some problems, there are some problematic things in the Anaheim Ducks. Nothing is more problematic right now than Randy Carlyle, and that's something that I believe full-heartedly. But again, going back to that loss, that 9-3 loss versus the Winnipeg Jets, that's the type of game. That is the type of game that gets coaches fired pretty much every single time. With Bob Murray, after that game, there should be zero hesitation to call up him and say, Randy, you are done with this team. And it's Sunday afternoon. We have heard no rumors, nothing on the front of Randy Carlyle, and I feel like there is not going to be a firing on his part because Bob Murray is so stubborn to the fact that Randy Carlyle is still a fit on this team. He's still going to work. He's still going to make the playoffs with this team, but it is obvious that it is not going to happen under Randy Carlyle and his management. And obviously the team performance has something to do with the players and the team itself, but when you're consistently losing like they have been, getting outshot like they have been almost every single game it seems like, and getting 9-3 losses seemingly out of nowhere, the team should be held accountable, obviously, but when it comes down to stuff like that, when it happens every single game, always seemingly getting outshot and relying on your goaltender, that blame should be going on Randy Carlyle, but right now, I think Bob Murray is saying to himself, oh, this team should be playing better, when the coach is the obvious problem. But for me personally, I'm starting to think that he might not ever be fired. I mean, a game like that, losing 9-3, is something that should never be excusable and should always be held accountable when it comes to the coach. Yes, the players have something to do with it, but the coach has a lot to do with it. And for me right now, Randy Carlyle, I think, has no excuses. I think Bob Murray should have fired him months ago. But this was a perfect opportunity to get rid of him and to get somebody new. But it's seeming like Bob Murray will not make that change, which is one of the biggest mistakes I think he could ever make. And with the Anaheim Ducks, losing 9-3 is already super embarrassing, but to not fire the coach, who is obviously the sprouting of those problems, is even more embarrassing. I mean, when it comes to Randy Carlyle, he has to be held accountable, right? But Bob Murray still hasn't done anything to show that. There isn't even any rumors out there of Randy Carlyle being fired, and to me, I'm just disappointed for the Anaheim Ducks, what they're going through, because it seems like they're trying to fix every single other area of their team besides the coach, who is the obvious problem right now and is the obvious factor to them losing. But for me personally, I'm just sad for Anaheim Ducks fans for having to go through this crap every single game. Whenever I watch the Anaheim Ducks, sometimes they might win, sometimes they might lose, but they're almost always outshot. They almost always have to rely on their goaltender, and the speed and skill is just not there whatsoever. And while some of that has to do with players and the team itself, a lot of that, if it happens every single game, has to do with coaching and the coaching mindset that Randy Carlyle has. But I hope for Anaheim Ducks fans' sake that Randy Carlyle is fired in the near future, because honestly, you guys don't deserve to go through this misery any longer. But I hope you guys enjoyed this different style of video. I don't rant usually too much. I like to keep it more conservative. But in this video, I was just going off the walls, and I think you guys can tell that I don't like Randy Carlyle, and I think that was pretty obvious. But of course, with this video, I want to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments down below. So let me know, what do you think about this rant today? What do you think about Randy Carlyle and his coaching job in the NHL? Do you see him sticking with the Anaheim Ducks, or do you see him getting fired and win? But if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you can click on this card right here to watch my video about Patrick Laine and if you'll get traded. But that is going for today, guys. If you guys enjoy, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. You can comment down below your thoughts on Randy Carlyle and when he'll get fired. And I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.